Hey, Don here again. Retired psychologist, not here to do psychotherapy, but to make recommendations for those who are seeking counseling, psychotherapy, which very often could involve, and many very often should involve, both mental health care through by way of a person experienced with behavioral difficulties and how to resolve them, and but very often requiring medical care in the way of an assessment of a person's physical health, neurological condition, and the possibility that they have a, quote, mental disorder, end quote, which is more of a physical disorder. For example, some forms of depression are known to be triggered by a physical event, postpartum depression being a good example. Females after giving birth frequently go through a period of depression, often resolving itself, at other times requiring medical, psychiatric care by means of medication or recommendations regarding rest, but also often requiring psychological care regarding what the birth of the child means, how the birth of that child might be affecting their relationship with their husband, friends, and even how it's managing to govern their daily activities. Let's talk about marriage counseling here. People seeking marriage counseling have typically, as most marriages, have difficulties, arguments, things that are resolved, disputes, whether it's about children, finances, where people live, what kind of jobs they're going to have, what to do recreationally. Healthy marriages typically resolve these through a discussion or a good old-fashioned argument, hopefully not through some type of fisticuffs, physical encounter. At that point, the marriage is in deep trouble. The moment the marriage goes toward, anyone in the marriage turns to physical combativeness, the marriage is in deep trouble, in my opinion. Strong verbal combativeness, foul-mouthing, reporting, saying terrible things, accusations, wishing harm upon a partner. These are all signs of a marriage that's in deep trouble. But let's just take folks, for whatever reason, they haven't been able to resolve these difficulties and decide they're going to go to a marriage counselor. By the way, perhaps they should have talked to family members, neighbors, friends, even their own children, to get a big picture and possibly some type of help before turning to a marriage counselor. Often people turn to a marriage counselor thinking, this will resolve it. This person will know what's wrong. This person can decide what's right or wrong here, and maybe even decide who is right or wrong. They'll make it clear from the outset. It is not the role of a marriage counselor to come to a decision as to who is right or who is wrong. I mean, there are certain things I guess anybody would know is right or wrong. A partner in a marriage throwing thousands of dollars away on gambling, is there any argument that something like that, if it's harming the family, that as an issue of right or wrong is resolved? Most issues are not that clear and simple. So a few precautions. Marriage counseling should start with both partners involved. If one partner is refusing marriage counseling, and one person said, well, I'm going to go to get counseling. Well, you're going to go get counseling. Whoever that is, the man or the wife, is going to go get counseling. But it's not marriage counseling. You're not going to go to a therapist and get counseling that's going to resolve your marriage. It involves both parties. So let's just take a legitimate form of marriage counseling where both parties go to their marriage counselor. And I'll report this also. Every single session of marriage counseling should involve both partners. A marriage counselor should never, some will, some think it's fine, this is just an opinion, a counselor should never separate the parties and say, well, Mrs. Smith, I think what we'll do is next Tuesday I'm going to meet with you individually and then on Thursday I'll meet with Mr. Smith individually to have more or less private talks where you can say some things openly or whatever. Might sound like a good idea because, well, the counselor's going to really get maybe a different picture, a more private picture of this matter. The point is, things are going to be said to that counselor that counselor is not going to be able to repeat to the other party. Mrs. Smith might start saying things to this counselor that Mr. Smith doesn't know. Maybe he should know. He certainly should know before the counselor knows. Point is, the counselor then becomes privy to personal information about one of the parties, and that counselor is not in any way free to relate that information to the other party. Let's just say Mrs. Smith comes in and says, I'm sorry, I've been taking about $160 a week out of my money and going down to the casino and playing slot machines, and he doesn't know about it. I'm passing it off as gasoline and extra food or whatever. Or Mr. Smith may say, she doesn't know about this, but me and the lady down the street have been going to lunch with her several times a week now, and it's starting to heat up into something, and I don't know if she knows about it, but the lady is very nice to me. And needless to say, some relationships are far more down the road, some extramarital, are far more down the road than just having lunch with some lady, nice person down the street. The counselor cannot be privy to that knowledge. If that knowledge has to come out, or if it should come out, and maybe it should come out, it comes out with both man and wife, both parties present in front of the counselor, and they can say what they want, and they can also hold back what they want, but they should not be feeling free to go in and have a private consultation with that counselor, psychologist, psychiatrist, and now they can pour their heart out because the other party isn't there. It puts that counselor in a very odd, untenable situation. If that begins to happen in your marriage counseling, don't run out the door. You've got a counselor who is, well, maybe I don't want to say they're not qualified. Maybe they're qualified in their own realm of what marriage counseling should be about. And in closing this session out, I pointed out at one of my earlier talks about developing a relationship with the counselor. In marriage counseling, as in any counseling, the couple, if they're going to marriage counseling, and as I pointed out, it may be very late in the game for that marriage, but they should find out some things about the counselor, and the counselor should be, well, of course, we'll be asking things about the married couple that's having these difficulties, but find out what your counselor's experience is. If that person may be married in a solid marriage, fine. That person may have been married and widowed, and may have very good experiences and be able to relate. That person may be in a marriage that is broken up on its own and in bad shape. That may hurt or may help in their counseling, but you should know where the counselor is coming from. All right, that's enough of this for now. There's going to be other issues related to the other issues, the many issues involving therapy, including therapy with children, discipline of children, especially the incorrigible child, depression, anxiety. They'll be discussed one by one, 8 or 10 minutes at a time, and what to do when seeking counseling for such issues. Meanwhile, please subscribe. Give me a like if you like what you're seeing here. Subscribe. Raise questions if you wish, or comments, or criticism. That's all well and good, because much of what I'm doing here, some of what I'm doing, is a critique of therapy. And by critique, I don't mean it's all negative. I'm giving an evaluation, an assessment based on my years of experience. And it's meant educationally. I'm not here to provide psychotherapy for anybody. I am here to provide some precautions. Again, I'll see you later. Subscribe. Check up a yes or a no, a like or a dislike. Raise questions. See ya. I'm going to shut this thing off now and take a rest. Bye.